Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar today, Discovering AI and AEC. We're so happy to have you join us. My name is Jessa Tracy, and I am the Director of Marketing for Global eTraining. While this webinar is hosted by Global eTraining, I'm so excited and proud to share that we have a ton of great content in the bulk of the webinar with some AEC thought leaders, AI, AEC experts, really the best of the best. So we're so happy to have them here. You can see some of their logos here on the screen. So we're going to be joined by AI and AEC. We also have presenters from NVIDIA and Dell, and then we're also so happy to be sponsored by Intel as well today. While people are kind of trickling in, if you want to just throw where you're calling in from in the chat question area, it's super cool to see the reach on these things. And yeah, we just want to give some people some time to trickle in. While we're waiting, I will go through the agenda and then just a couple of housekeeping things before our presenters join us. So, like I said, we have three presenters, AI and AEC, Dell, and NVIDIA, and they're each going to be giving a individual presentation focused on AI fundamentals, tech innovations for AI enablement, and how to gain skills needed for AI mastery in AEC. So all under that Discovering AI and AEC umbrella. It's going to be a really great presentation. After those presentations, we do have a few minutes. We're going to do a panel with our expert speakers today. So I'll tell you a little bit more how to get involved in that in a second. And then also today, we just wanted to take a moment to announce a really exciting new course for Global eTraining, together partnered with one of our speakers today. Stepan from AI and AEC is providing content for an amazing new course with the same name as our webinar today. So if you're interested in this topic of discovering AI and AEC, definitely stay tuned to the end to learn a little bit more about that course. So for housekeeping things, I'm sure you've all already noticed, but your sound and cameras are off for the duration of the webinar, just to make it a little bit easier to hear our speakers. That said, we do want to hear from you. So throw any thoughts or questions or anything like that into the question or chat sections, and then those questions and thoughts will be what our panel is about. So definitely throw them in there. Anything you want some clarification on, want to learn more about, we will discuss it. And if you have any specific questions for a specific speaker, throw it in there and we'll let them know. Links to each partner and company presented today in the webinar will be shared in a follow-up email. So if you want to follow up with them, learn more about what they do, all that kind of stuff, we'll share that with you. And then we'll also, like I said, share more information about that upcoming Discovering AI and AEC course. And then also stay tuned for the duration of the webinar for more information on how to get a replay of today's event if you want to watch it again or share it with a colleague or anything like that. I know what you guys want, and it's for this part to be over and to get into the content. So I will introduce our first speaker, Stepan. If you want to just turn your camera on, I'll turn it over to you. We're so excited to have you, AI and AEC. If you want to introduce yourself.
Yes, thank you so much, Jessa. And I guess, should I just continue? I guess I should.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. So, hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining in. I hope you're still writing. I'll show my screen. Let me do that here as well. It should be. Yes, you can see it. Perfect. Amazing. You can see my screen and everything?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Well, again, hello, everybody. My name is Stepan, but for those of you, and probably there's many of you who maybe have troubles with pronouncing it, I don't mind being called anything of that version, like Stefan, Stepan. I'm originally from Croatia, and I can tell you that even Croatian people have kind of difficulties pronouncing my name, so that's completely okay. But yeah, I've for the last 9.5 years, I've been in Denmark, so I'm currently calling from Copenhagen. But actually, a big life update is that in a month, I'll be moving to Los Angeles. So this is something pretty exciting, and I think it's, I mean, part of the reason, or a big part of it is for work, because most of my clients are in the United States. So I'm really excited for that. But I think that without further ado, and I just want to get into it and maybe talk about what I'm here to present. So of course the webinar is called Discovering AI and AEC, and we're gonna come to like the course at the end. But like the whole part of this let's say the first part, the first 25 minutes is going to be me talking a little bit more about the 3 pillars of AI implementation. So it's not necessarily only about technology, even though we're going to see some really cool apps, you can say, but it's also like, how do you go about implementing it? So with that said, let me just say that, we as a company, you can see here on my t-shirt, we are a small company, but we're kind of mighty, you can say. And I also know my employees are here watching here, so hi guys. But what we do, we essentially help architects, engineers, construction professionals implement AI. We do this through courses, workshops, and consulting, but I'm gonna come to that later on in the webinar. So what I want to talk to you about today is, first we're gonna even discuss why do we need AI as the industry, as the AEC industry. Then I'm gonna talk about these 3 pillars, like the change on how you can actually go about it. And then finally, I'll tell you why BIM isn't the solution that everybody hoped for. I'm not saying it's not gonna be necessary in the future, but I am saying it's not the only solution. But I'm also gonna share 30 best AI apps that anybody can use to really save a lot of time in their weeks and in their work. But not only that, I'll also mention something very cool, because I'm going to mention a little bit more about this, not in too much detail, but I recently helped a 250-person company save $4.5 million with AI. So this is something that I think that everybody can benefit from, because there's real money to be earned and saved if you look at AI implementation holistically. So if this sounds good, I'm just gonna go on and start my presentation. So yeah, I mean, for those of you who maybe don't know me, I am again from Croatia, but I worked at Sweco, which is Europe's largest engineering firm. For around 3 years, I was doing kind of BIM coordination, structures, MEP, electrical modeling. And then for 2 years, I was at BIG. If you're an architect, you probably know BIG, but if you're not, I typically say it's like the LA Lakers of architecture, because a lot of architects, know and love the projects I did also back then. So this was, I was there for 2 years as a project BIM lead. And then for the last year, I've had my own company. For until December, I was solo, and then I started hiring people. So again, as I said, I had two employees. So yeah, the year has been amazing, and I think that 2025 is also kind of starting to be amazing as well. So I really hope so. But yeah, what most people know me for is not actually my career, it's this here. So what I'm showing you right now is something I call the AEC AI Hub. And it's essentially the world's largest database of AI tools for the AEC industry. So I started creating this ever since ChatGPT came about. People were still skeptical, didn't maybe know about so much. But besides ChatGPT, I saw so many applications out there, and I started, putting it all in a Notion page. And over time, I never planned on it being the world's largest, but over time, it just became so. People were reaching out to me on LinkedIn, on email, whatever. And just telling me, there's this app, there's this app, there's this. And today, companies all around the world use it to really find the best app, because there's almost 1,600 applications there, and it's all free. It's completely free. You can access it yourself through my website. You just sign up, answer a few questions that are, just to understand you a bit better. But yeah, you can access it for free, and yeah, it's a pretty cool resource for finding, what AI can actually do in our industry. So yeah, but beside that, I figured, who needs 1,500 apps, right? You need one that solves your problem. So I started making these cheat sheets, and I think Ken, who is gonna be speaking later today, he also remembers this from the early days. We just spoke in the kind of pre-meeting room about it. So these are kind of cheat sheets that summarize the best key tools and the use cases. So these are also in the hub. You can also use them. They're completely free and share and so on. So with that said, I just wanted to show you this graph and kind of start the whole presentation, because this graph is what changed my whole view on AI. So what you can see here is essentially AI performance compared to human performance. So as you can see here on level 0 is average human performance at tasks like reading comprehension, image recognition, language understanding, and so on. So as you can see here, and I don't know if you see my mouse, I hope you do, but AI is already better than an average human at most of these tasks. And of course, this isn't the whole story. There's a bit of, this is the other graph that tells you that AI is still not as good at the general knowledge tasks, math problem solving, code generation, and complex reasoning as an average human is. But I still want to say one thing, and this is, look at the exponentiality of these graphs. Everything happened in the last few years. So I think that it's only a matter of months before AI is, better than an average human. So this is something that if you haven't started learning, which I mean, you signed up for the webinar, so I pretty much guess that you want to start learning if you haven't yet. But for those, let's say, colleagues of yours that haven't started or aren't interested, they should be, because this is something huge. But I think that the reason why what I want to start with is, why do we even need AI in our industry? And I know if you've been in the industry for at least a few years, like myself as well, we all heard about this. We all heard how much we pollute. We pollute like 39% of all global carbon emissions are caused by the AEC industry. And this is far larger than any other industry in the world. And not only this is that we are polluting so much, but on the other hand, we need to build so much. Like, think about it. There's not I don't know of a single city in the West that is affordable on 2 salaries that people can live normally in the city center. And we think it's normal to like live 100 miles away from the city center and commute for 3 hours every day. It's not. And that's why the house prices are rising everywhere, because there's huge demand. And in terms of numbers, this means that we need to build a New York-sized city every 34 days for the next 40 years. So think about it. On one hand, we need to build so much, but on the other hand, we are polluting so much. So the question is, how do we do this? Like, is there any way out? And there's actually research showing that we can do this in 2 ways. The first way is to either 10x our workforce. So instead of us being, 470 or 80 that signed up for this webinar, we need to be 4,800, people that signed up. Or we can 10x the production speed, meaning that, instead of our buildings and infrastructure projects taking years to be done, we do it in months. And if you think about it logically, what is the most likely scenario to happen? I mean, people are not having as many kids anymore, and people are not studying architecture engineering as much anymore. So in my opinion, I think the second option, meaning the production speed, is something that we definitely need to look forward to, and we need to look into, if we want to solve these big challenges that we have. And I think that that's why we need AI in our industry. And it's not a nice to have, it's a need to have. So with that said, I'm going to get straight into how do you go about implementing AI? So of course, like many of us, we all start with technology, and this is the first pillar of AI implementation. So something that AI technology is allowing us to do that we weren't able to do before is to take this kind of crumble a piece of paper together and create an amazing design like this. This is insane. Like, come on. This is a dream of any architect. You can just do anything, take anything as inspiration. And these images are not mine. They're from Studio Tim Fu. I really, if you don't know who they are, really check them out. They're probably one of the most innovative studios when it comes to kind of AI and design and visualization that exists out there. So definitely check them out. But if you want to, I don't know if you already are using AI for visualizations and rendering, but these are the apps I recommend. After researching so many, these are the ones I would get started with. And the reason I separated them into 3 pillars is because the first ones, meaning Midjourney, Veros, and Render, they're easy to use. They're very easy to get on. You probably pay whatever, $50, $60 a month, if that even, and it's very easy to use. But the problem about them is that they currently don't offer that much control. It's very hard. Like if you need to move 1 million on a window, it's kind of impossible. And then on the other side, you have Stable Diffusion, which is completely controllable. You can really get into the nitty-gritty of renderings. But on the other hand, it's kind of hard to use it. You need to be a bit more technical. So kind of the medium, like LookX, like Corbu, are the tools that allow for this. So these are some of the apps I recommend. And then the other part is not only, of course, fancy images, you can also do a bunch of generative design. So this is something where you kind of put some parameters, like how many rooms, how many stories, how many rooms on each story, how many bathrooms, whatever, living rooms, tables, and it all, like the AI essentially creates that for you. And there are 3 apps there that I recommend. Of course, one is the big Autodesk Forma, and I also believe that Autodesk is planning to take Revit's capabilities and put it into Forma with years to come. But knowing Autodesk kind of a bit maybe closer, and I mean, I have many friends there, but I don't think they're as fast as they could be for many different reasons. But this is a topic of another discussion. But otherwise, you also have Schema, and Schema is kind of, this is pretty cool because they allow you to look into your past designs and use those designs to influence your new ones, to kind of have your style. Because, you know, we keep doing projects from scratch, and like this, we can reuse them. And for example, Hypar is one of the apps that I would definitely use for space planning and processing stuff and so on. But this is not only generative design. What AI can also do, and I struggle with this myself, is because for years, especially when I was at Sweco, you know, we would get this kind of buildings to transform. We would get DWG drawings or point clouds, and we needed to build a BIM model out of it. And I was always wondering if there's an AI app that can do this for us. And there is. One of these apps is called BIMify, because it allows you exactly that. You can put any DWG, any image, any point cloud, and it creates an LOD 350 model for you. And it is as amazing as it sounds. Like, I think it can only do kind of the 9 categories, like walls, doors, windows, not to get too technical now. So there are some limitations, but it is, you know, out there. It can do a lot of stuff. And so instead of you sending outsourcing work to India, Bangladesh, Vietnam, you can do it with an AI platform. Another one that I love speaking about is called Built Robotics. From the States. And what you can see here, like I'm pretty sure that many people heard about autonomous cars, but I don't know how many heard about autonomous excavators. And this is exactly what you can see on the screen here. There are no people here. The only thing maybe in the back of these excavators are these kind of blue computers, which are essentially AI computers commanding these machines. And think about it, like they can work 24/7. They can probably work, you know, in higher quality than a human can. But there are, of course, some limitations. This is still very expensive, and it's a completely flat ground. So there are some limitations, but potential of technology is there. Now, another one that I love to speak about, especially with contractors, is that, you know, they receive models from architects, engineers that are all over the place. You know, they can, you know, miss information or have too much or whatever. Where you have an app like Sparkle that essentially allows you to chat with your BIM model. So as you can see here, there's like this little black ribbon where you can kind of type in, how much foundation do I have? How many windows do I have? How many rebar do I have? Whatever, like you can ask any question and immediately get a result. And this is just amazing that you can kind of chat, you know, and use AI to simplify quantity takeoffs. Now, another one I love speaking about, and I'm really gonna speed up here, is Gantt AI, because I never met a happy person doing construction schedules. I don't know if you know one, but all of them are kind of, you know, because they change every day, of course. So you have an AI app like Gantt AI that can help you, you know, look into your past schedules and create new ones out of them. And then finally, for the technology pillar, I'm going to show you Inspect Mind AI. What they do is that once you go on site, what you do today is that you go on a site when you need to kind of perform a site inspection. You take your phone, you take your tablet, whatever, you take a bunch of photos, and then you drive back, and it takes you, I don't know, 4 hours, 8 hours to pull, you know, all of these images into a Word document, type in, whatever, you know. Imagine if this could be automated. And this is exactly what Inspect Mind does. So you still go out on site, you still take photos and videos. The only difference is that you speak into the app, like you speak your voice into the app. And the result is that while you're driving home, you get a fully formatted report in your style with all of these, you know, inspections, like the paint is missing, a screw is loose, whatever it might be. So this is the power of AI and automation. And with that, this was the first pillar. Again, I really need to be careful of time here, so I'm going to speed up. But if you're going to have any questions, please feel free to ask them after. The second pillar is the process. And when it comes to process, I recommend, looking first into your core business, of course. What are your clients' needs? Because a lot of people start with what is out there. I'm feeling overwhelmed. And these are what most of my clients tell me. Stepan, there's so many apps out there. What do I start with? I tell them, don't start with the AI apps. Start with your business. Try to solve your problems first, of course, and then your clients as well. So this is something I would start with. Second thing, if you think like your business is all fine, ask your team. They're probably going to tell you they have headaches, And what I also found out with like many of my clients, they have a bunch of blind spots, because people tend to use technology kind of what they're used to, what they see happening, and many of them miss a lot of potential automations and thereby leave a lot of money on the table. And then the third thing is talk to others. That's why I think that kind of these webinars and conferences are awesome. But why I'm mentioning kind of talking to others is because it's going to allow you not to miss amazing apps. And one amazing app I want to share is Swap. Now, this app doesn't look anything too fancy, but let me just tell you kind of a short maybe reference. Is because a question: has anybody heard of OpenAI before they launched ChatGPT? Probably none of us, right? None of us knew about OpenAI. So the Swap is essentially trying to do the same thing, because what OpenAI did is that they existed for years, but they were building in stealth. They were building quietly. So when they launched, everybody was like, wow, this is something special. So Swap is essentially doing the same thing. The only difference is their focus, of course. So what they're trying to do is they're building an AI app that can take your 3D model produced in any software, any app, Rhino, Revit, whatever, and it takes your 3D model and it creates fully done construction documentation, fully annotated, code checked with all the tags, everything, in 30 or 40 minutes. Just imagine how much time would we save here. How much time? This would change our whole business. So currently, I spoke with the founder recently, and 80% of their staff are AI researchers. They're not looking for clients because they're building in stealth. But I just wanted to put it on your radar for now, because they might launch in 3 years, they might launch in 3 months, they might launch who knows when. So this is what I wanted to put it on your radar. And then the third pillar are, of course, the people. And people are maybe the toughest pillar of them all to really, like, how do you motivate everybody? How do you find the right people? Who's going to drive innovation in your company? And this is something that I struggle with for years myself, both as an employee and now as a kind of company owner. Because, I figure that I'm speaking to different types of people, because we are all different. Some people are skeptical. Some people are all up for it. Some people just want to look around. So it's very hard to find the right thing. But this is where I want to maybe just reference something that I came to that saving, what I mentioned in the beginning, because I think that any successful AI implementation starts with education. What I'm showing on the screen here is this is a 9-step process I take with my clients, where we assess their whole tech stack. So the first step is education, where we answer all different kinds of questions, from what does training a model mean to where do I click in Midjourney to get whatever I want. The questions vary. And then we start with assessing your tech stack, mapping your process, how does your process look like? Where do you get the files? What do you do with them? How do you translate them further? And a special focus is on pain points, how can this be optimized? After we go into testing, identify quick wins, develop the implementation plan, and so on and so forth. I'm not going to go into it now. We can maybe do another webinar on this topic. But essentially, this process is what led me recently to go to Dubai, to this 250-person firm. And this is how our whole week looked like. I was there for a week. We did a Miro board of so many things. Again, I don't have the time to look into it now. But in the end, we ended up optimizing their firm to be on the path to save $4.5 million with AI and automation. So this is something pretty cool. So let me just start wrapping up, because I also want to reflect on BIM. But I hope that everything I said so far is really making you think that the future is already here, and it's just not evenly distributed. So why BIM, because a lot of people, especially like, in the, let's say, less developed countries, are still ongoing with the BIM transformation. And they ask me, like, why can't Revit just get a new add-in? Why can't, we just get a new architect, like whatever. And I tell them that you have some AI add-ins for these programs, but there's one big problem with all of these BIM apps. And that problem is that they are old. They are very old. So what we're essentially doing is that we're using 20th century's technology to solve 21st century's problems. And just if you don't think 2000 is that old, please look at this slide. This is the phone from year 2000. Maybe some of you are thinking, I had this phone, or this was my first phone. It was actually one of my first phones. So just imagine using it today for work. Like, you can't do anything. Come on, yes, you can call, and I don't know if you can text, but is it optimal? Can you really do anything productively? Come on, not really. Where you have like kind of intelligent in smartphones today. So this is when people tell me, Revit is the future, we need to, keep doing this. I don't know about you, but like for me, Revit took like 3 or 4 years to learn. It's so complex, and there's so like to learn at a deep level. Sharing of files never made sense for me but I'm going to reflect on that a bit later. And what people don't know is that there are other tools that are out there in the background, and not even in the background anymore, like Snaptroot. It's easy to learn, it's collaborative, it's browser-based. So there are tools that people just don't know about them. So this is the whole point of like why I'm doing what I'm doing. Because one thing that really annoys me also is that how we work. It's not so much about technology as well, it's how we work. Because look at this. So first we make a 3D model, and then we decide intentionally to go a step back to 2D, like print from a 3D model. What? And then send on email, send on server, call it final version V2, final version V3, V4, whatever. Get lost in all these files, and then send it on email. But no, email can only do 25 megabytes. Send it on WeTransfer. Like, guys, this doesn't work. This doesn't work. And then when I speak with leaders, when I speak with my clients, they all tell me they know what we should do. We need to have data consistency. We need to have integrated cloud. But nobody's actually showing me how it works optimally. And then I ask them, guys, have you heard of a tool like Speckle? Like, this is a tool that essentially allows you to work in a new way, where you can work in any of these apps, but on the same project. And when you share something, you share a link. And just so you know, nobody's paying me to say anything about like promote any app. It's completely my opinion, but I just don't get it that people are not using this more. I correct me if I'm wrong. But I recently had a client and I was telling them about Speckle. They had no idea what Speckle is. But once they realized what it can do, they told me this was BIM as it was supposed to be. So I can't, agree more. So with that said, let me just reflect quickly here on AEC tech in one graph, where I believe the future is heading. So the first part is like, the current AEC tools that we have. I don't think we are ever going to get rid of AutoCAD or Excel or Revit. I think they're all going to be kind of evergreen tools, but they need to be optimized with emerging technologies like drones and robots and so on. And of course, AI and automation. So this is what I found with my clients. It's not either or, it's all of them combined. Because when you combine them, this is where your treasure chest is. This is where your projects are, when you're going to hire the best people and so on. So this is what I help my clients with. And yeah, this is what I kind of made a company for, to help people on this transformation phase with education and consulting, and at some point development as well. So yeah, I think that this was pretty much, I promised you in the beginning to share the personal AI tools I use. And what I'm going to share here, you can take a screenshot, you can start using them. I use all of them myself. Or most of them right now, because I test and then stop and then test again and whatever. So while I can't teach you in a webinar how to use them all, I think that what you also need to and this is what you really need, because this slide shows you the state of design and make from Autodesk. And I have a point with this slide, so don't just bear with me. The point is that the leaders have been asked, leaders of AEC companies, is who would they hire? Like, what kind of skills do they prioritize? And rank number 1, and this is a report from 3 months ago, is the ability to implement and work with AI. And even rank 2 and 3 are digital design skills and digital project management. So what I'm trying to say here is that you cannot only look at what apps are out there and what is happening. You need to like try it yourself, test it yourself, and get your hands dirty with these. So part of like what we're trying to do here with global eTraining is that we're launching a new course that you can their customers can access now. And we have actually 2 courses launching. One is the ChatGPT Masterclass. I think it's like an hour and 19 minutes long, where people have told me, I use ChatGPT. I'm like, what are you using it for? To summarize text or to think of something new. But I realize that there's so much that people are missing. So I assure you, I guarantee that if you watch this, you're gonna learn at least one new way of how you can use ChatGPT in your work as an architect, engineer, whatever you might be. You're going to find how to find unlimited ideas, how to prompt perfectly. You're going to learn everything in this masterclass. And then for those who want to maybe go even deeper into AI, we are also launching Discovering AI in AEC, which is kind of the whole name of the webinar today, which also includes the masterclass. But it also has like 3 hours of learning. You can get 3 AIA learning points for this. There's demos that I'm kind of constantly uploading, adding. There's so much actually. There's, 6 AI laws. You see it all on the screen. But the whole point is this last green thing, is that all of this knowledge and skills are gonna allow you to save 30% of your time, or about 12 hours a week on personal productivity. So these are not kind of company transformation. This is something we do with some other courses and consulting, but this is what it's gonna allow you. It's gonna allow you to really master AI skills for yourself. And yeah, just maybe wrap up completely. I said I had a company for a year now with 2 employees, right? But I think that what happened last year, I just can't, even get a grasp on. I think it's only when I, go one day into pension or something, I'm gonna be like, wow, this really happened. Because in a year, we have sold our courses or had, customers from 63 countries. And this is why I say, God has blessed me more than I deserve, because I just can't believe that this happened in like a year, So yeah, I think that it's not only that it happened in so many countries, it's also what people talk about our courses. They're all amazed at, what the courses did for them. But yeah, I think that if you join, I think you're gonna like it as well. I hope you do. And if there's any way we can improve, please let us know. But this was pretty much it. This was my time, and I think I'm only 2 minutes over time, which I hope it's okay. But thank you so much. I hope you learned something, and I hope you're going to join the courses. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Stepan. That was amazing. I love the passion, first of all, and also I love the cell phone, like the 2000 cell phone. That's awesome. So thank you so much. That was amazing, and we'll have you back on towards the end for the panel discussion as well. I definitely feel excited about your courses, and I'm definitely going to check out the ChatGPT Masterclass. I know I need that.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. So if anyone, like I said, has any more questions for Stepan about anything that he said today, about anything included in the course or the tools he uses, or like I said, anything he said, feel free to throw your questions in the chat. I see you already have a couple here. Feel free to throw more in there, and we'll make sure that he gets those. Next up, we're so excited to have Ken Flanagan from Dell. Ken, if you want to join us, introduce yourself, say a couple words, I'll hand it over to you.
Yeah, thanks. So my name's Ken Flanagan, and I run industry alliances and solutions for the building industry, the geospatial industry, and the, and for the product design and manufacture. So share my screen, hopefully.
Yeah, we can see it there, Ken.
Awesome. So should see the PowerPoint, and we'll get going. Oops. Did not work out well, so let me try that again. All right, so you can see the PowerPoint?
Yeah, looks great.
Yeah, so I'm joined by my colleague Pietro, who will talk just after me. I won't take up much time at all. Talking about, what do these AI workloads mean for your local PC? Most of the people on this call are running engineering applications, and they're running, whether it's SolidWorks or whether it's Revit or any of the other kind of major tentpole modeling and documentation and design exploration type of technology. So with all these AI tools, and I've been a big fan of Stefan from, we say way back, I think 2 years ago is way back in AI speak, following some of the tools that are available. And, at Dell, we have followed a lot of these tools, and we've seen this really rapid growth in development. And there's also a fair amount of education that has to happen around what does this machine that you've been using for your engineering applications, how is it relevant in this world of AI? And for any of those people that are kind of watching this presentation saying, wow, that's a lot of tools, and am I going to get replaced? I just want to remind people, I was an early Revit adopter in the early 2000s. And at the time when I was learning Revit, they were basically saying that you were going to be able to do 40% more work with the same staff, or the same amount of work with 40% less staff. And fast forward almost 20 years now, and we realized that wasn't true at all. What really happened is an entirely new economy grew around building information modeling, and I really expect the same thing to happen with AI. Of course, those of us back when BIM started that adopted early saw our careers follow a technology path, and I think a lot of people on the line today may be in that same position, catching AI as early as it is today. So I do want to start by just level setting on what on your machine matters for AI workloads. And there's 3 processing units, and you may not even be aware that there are 3 kind of available processing units for AI workloads on your machine. Everybody knows the CPU. For most people in the engineering space, CPU is primarily used for high frequency modeling tasks. When we talk about AI workloads, we're really talking about parallel workloads. So it's kind of a different animal. So you got to start paying attention to the AI inferencing features that happen locally. The Xeon processors here, for instance, that's definitely a parallel compute type of CPU. Most people are running applications like Revit and SolidWorks. They have a Core Ultra. That's more of a high frequency CPU. They both have different sets of processors on them for different types of AI workloads. The GPU, the graphics processing unit, where Pietro will talk more about, this has really been the compute device in our machines that have captured this, what can I do with AI? It's all GPU driven, and a lot of it is. Now, Stefan had a lot of cloud tools. Cloud tools are absolutely there. There's also some real practical reasons where you may not be able to use those tools, whether it's sensitivity to IP protection or data governance or client confidentiality, or just the sizes of data that you're trying to use may not actually be so portable, or the speed at which you need the feedback may not be as quick doing those centralized compute. So you do have some options on your local machine. The GPU that you may be using for rendering or just to meet the minimum required specs for your engineering software can also be used to run some locally run AI workloads. And then you have the neural processing unit, the NPU. This is a different set of processors that sits on the newest Intel Core CPUs. And these are low power, low latency parallel processing unit. Similar to a GPU, but a GPU would be a higher power, higher heat, more power, obviously a lot more throughput in the GPU. But now you see this compute for AI workloads moving around in this machine, and you may not have been aware of that at all. So when you see NPU and Intel processors, what you're really seeing is an offloading of some of the locally run AI features onto an NPU. Not all features. The GPU definitely sits as a really important piece for AI development and local inferencing for the most part, but the NPU, new kid on the block, trying to take over some of those in a lower power, lower latency on the same machine. So if you have a newer gen Intel Core processor, you probably already have an NPU on your system today. So Dell, as an organization, we have end-to-end services. We obviously have a very healthy server and infrastructure business. We have displays, we have peripherals, and what I'm here talking about is really this kind of middle section, these AI PCs, performance PCs, workstations, And you may not be familiar with a term that you'll see more and more as products are going to be released, and that's the rebranding of our precision brand into the Dell Pro Max. So we've simplified our portfolio into Dell, Dell Pro, Dell Pro Max. Of course, we are still using Alienware as our gaming platform, but what you'll see in the next year, in this coming year, is a new naming, new product lines that match what you see here. So we have a mix of mobiles and fixed. So the precision and the numbered are going away in favor of the simplified approach. Across the entire Dell organization on our client side, we've simplified our portfolio, and so our performance PCs running the engineering applications will be called Pro Max. You still see precision on this slide here. Those are our largest, most scalable towers, and from an AI perspective, those towers are primarily used for AI development. But the AI workstation has been a product offering from Dell for 4 years. So we've been providing the hardware to run these types of AI workloads. And as you see us move into the future, all of our system, whether it's a Dell Pro Rugged, all through our mobiles and fixed, are all with the proper components, the neural processing unit, the graphics processing unit, the types of CPUs that you need to actually enable running of AI workloads locally, as well as the more scalable workstations to do your own development and exploration. And that's really the message that I want to leave you guys with is, there's a ton of software, there's a ton of solution providers. If you are sitting back waiting for someone to open up a feature, and that doesn't necessarily have to be a new Revit feature, a new modeling feature, but just a new AI tool, if you're waiting for that to happen, you very well may be too late. So the message today is use the hardware that you have today for your engineering applications and start to experiment with tools that Pietro will cover here in a moment, with some of the things that you're able to do with a really, really powerful, capable local machine. And then finally, here's a last view, kind of a cross Dell recategorization of all of our products. So Dell Pro, and Dell Pro Max for performance for professional applications. So went pretty fast there. I wanted to leave enough time for Pietro. So I will stop showing my screen and hand it off to him.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ken. That was great again. I'm learning so much from this webinar. Next, we're so excited to have Pietro from NVIDIA. Ken kind of introduced him, but Pietro, if you want to say a few words about yourself as well. And last reminder, because Pietro is our last speaker, any questions you guys have for our presenters, I see a ton for both Stefan and Ken. So keep asking away and take it away, Pietro.
Thank you. Yeah, nice to meet everybody. I lead workstation GPU sales here at NVIDIA for the AEC vertical. And I just look forward to tell you a little bit more about why you need a GPU in AEC. Okay, which screen can you see? The one with my video or the other screen?
With not a video.
Oh, okay, perfect. So let's dive right in the presentation. So why do you need a GPU? Well, like Ken mentioned, we have CPU and GPU. GPU really is a part of the processing unit, and it's excellent at doing parallelized tasks such as AI. Our GPUs are now grown with multiple cores that can do multiple things. We have the graphic processor and compute processor to do things like simulations and rendering. We have ray tracing cores specifically for those real-time complex rendering, or also to interact with point clouds. And most importantly, with our latest generations, we've added tensor cores, specifically for AI compute. And this has to do with the speed of the GPU. We also have memory, dedicated memory in the GPU. Right now is up to 48 gigs per single unit, or 80 when you combine two GPUs together. And that is sort of the capacity. So when it comes to AI, what really matters is those tensor cores and the memory. We publish all this information for each of our GPU. This is like probably the most popular one in AEC. But I've also added one slide that sort of covers end-to-end of our GPU lineup. So this should be available in the presentation. So you don't have to go anywhere to go find this data. It's all here. The cool thing about NVIDIA right now is that we really decided to make it very, very simple to deploy everywhere you go. So we have both a software and a hardware stack that is very consistent throughout our platform. So you can develop a workstation or data center, you can deploy in the cloud or run locally. Everything is the same driver, really the same fundamental hardware. Of course, you have more power in the data center overall, but the workstation is extremely capable as well. So you really can decide how to embark in your AI journey. And there should be no barriers to moving your workflows wherever it makes the most sense, and even back and forth. Back in AEC, right, when we look at the end-to-end from a GPU standpoint, we have all sorts of things that are accelerated. I've left some slides in that I'm not going to cover right now in the interest of time, but you can take a look at anything, once we share the PowerPoint. I'm only going to focus on AI today for the rest of the presentation. We have our large, historical software vendors like Autodesk, Hexagon, Bentley that are already, building AI solutions. They're developing them and making them available to you to use. And we have all the other applications that Stefan mentioned earlier. So there is definitely a suite of options that are already at your fingertips for you to leverage AI today. But the other thing, which is pretty cool, that we are seeing more and more often, is that everyone, well, I shouldn't say everyone, but a lot of people are actually developing their own AI applications. In a few weeks, we're going to host GTC, which is our GPU technology conference here in San Jose. Of course, you can attend in person, but all the content, all the sessions will be free to attend remotely, virtually. They're all recorded, and they will be made available a couple of weeks after GTC. So you really don't have to wait long. And you can see, you will see in these sessions that some companies that you're very familiar with that historically have been using software made by Autodesk present on software that they have built and they're planning to make available. One to keep an eye on, for example, is Foster & Partners, but it's just one of many. So stay tuned for GTC if you want to see what can be done, what can really be built and homegrown with your own AI development. So how can you approach AI development, and why NVIDIA? AI is really split in three pillars right now. Two are core for generative AI, and then one is the traditional data science. We have AI training, which is the process of creating a neural network, and then we have the inferencing piece, which is with how we interact with the neural network and how we're getting information that is relevant for our use case. The cool thing is that you can actually do both of these tasks locally on workstation. You can develop applications, you can combine multiple workstation with different applications to as if they were different agents and have like an AI-based workflow, almost as if it's an extension of your team. And the same thing can be said for inference. You can run it locally, you can remote access into workstation to use the AI applications that are installed there, so on and so forth. The main difference that you have when deploying on a workstation is the size of the model that you're able to work with. And that brings back to the capacity memory component that I sort of overviewed earlier. Llama 2 13B is a good example of that. Meta has developed the Llama 2 70B, which is a really, really large sort of core model that requires X amount of GPU memory. You can only load that in a server environment with multiple GPUs. But you can download a distilled version. In this case, for example, the 13 billion parameter model locally on your workstation, as long as it fits in the GPU memory. And I'll tell you a little bit more later of how you calculate which models can fit on your GPU, and then you can interact with that locally, which is pretty cool. And I'm going to do a quick example of that right now. So this is the Chat RTX. It's a tool developed by NVIDIA, and is really just an interface for you to talk to different models. So right now I have loaded locally on my machine Mistral 7B, and I'm just going to talk to the AI model data. And let's say I'm researching Bank of America just because I want to participate in a bid. And I'm going to ask, let's say, how many buildings does Bank of America have? So now the model is sort of like looking at what it has in its own general training data, and it just gives me sort of like a quick overview of, I guess they have 4,300 branches of ATMs worldwide. Not quite. I mean, the answer is not incorrect necessarily, but is also not exactly what I've asked. So what you can do, which is pretty cool, is you can create your own database on your local machine. And by local database, it means you create a folder, and then you fill that folder with like PDFs, documents, anything. So every project that you're working on can have its own folder, and you can just literally copy and paste all the PDF data, all the PDFs that you have in the documents in that folder, and all of a sudden it becomes the core database for that project, and you can interact with your data using Chat RTX. So I just loaded the 10K of Bank of America, and I'm going to try to ask the same question, and we'll see what answer we got. Okay, and so now we get a little bit more of accurate information, at least what the Chat RTX, what the neural network was able to find, right? It says it has 60-story buildings, 55 buildings, 4 building campuses. Sometimes you get great answers, sometimes not so much, but this is just like a very, very distilled, small neural network. The more GPU memory you have available, the larger, the better model you can download, the better responses you're going to start to get. So this is something that is available today at build.nvidia.com. You can just download it as long as you have an NVIDIA GPU and try with your own data. See if you get value out of this, and it can be one of those 30 recommended applications that you end up using daily. So what just happened? What really happened is that we have, a vector database, which is the core data set that was trained in the neural network. We asked the query, and then we got our original response, and then we interacted with it. Then we pointed the neural network to our own data folder and asked the question again, and got an answer that was a little bit more relevant to the data that we had provided. So this is sort of like the core concept understanding of RAG, retrieval augmented generation, which is a very, very fast and effective way to start interacting with your own data. There are other ways to do it. Of course, you can build an AI model from scratch. You can retrain a already trained model that is a little bit more time consuming than RAG, but it will create a more robust overall AI agent. Or you can take neural networks that have already been trained and containerized and build and augment your current applications with these neural networks. So I have them accomplish a very, very specific task in an application that you already have. For this purpose, we have built NVIDIA NIMS, which is NVIDIA Inference Microservices, and it's really a containerized neural network where we handle the versioning and the dependencies, and we present it to you as an API. So it's very, very easy to integrate and include in your application, at any development stage of your development process. Last but not least, GPU memory is the second parameter that you want to keep in mind, because of course, the larger the model that you can load, the better results, the more accurate the neural network is. This is just a visual example, right? If you ask a small neural network to draw you a smiley face, then you get the image in the bottom left. And then all of a sudden, if you have a ton of GPU power and a higher precision neural network, then you get a really, really well-defined, like, beautiful image. And this is conceptually just a visual representation of how, the relationship is between parameters and precision. So, of course, the more is always better, but at the same time, you can still accomplish a lot when using local models. That's pretty much it for me. I want to leave some time for Q&As, so I'm going to hand it back over. Thanks, everybody, for participating.
Okay, hello everybody and welcome back. I want to invite all of our presenters to turn their screens on and their sound on. I do have to say hello everyone again. We have so many questions. I fear we could have 3 more webinars just off of the questions that we have. So we'll try to get to a couple here, and for everybody else, if we don't get to you, we will collaboratively work together to answer your questions via email. So no worries about that. We'll definitely get to you at some point or the other. I do have one here. I think it must be for you, Stepan, as it's talking specifically about BIMify and kind of came up when you were talking about that. So they just said, when generating BIM models from point clouds, does Revit take the tiny imperfections of the building and see them as warnings? I've seen 17,000 warnings in as-built model generated from a point cloud. Is that like
but okay, I would probably need to speak with this person just to understand a bit more where they got this point cloud. Is this something from BIMify, or is this something from what they create? I don't understand, to be honest. But I mean, what I can tell you is that you have, so when it comes to point clouds to BIM models, let me just tell you this. You have there's a few kind of competitive apps. You have BIM integrated projects, Orivus, and BIMify as like the 3 main ones. The only difference is that what BIMify does is they're more like a platform where they probably take a day because to get back to you with the model, because what they do is that they use AI to create a model, but then they use half a day with a person checking the model, just so this doesn't happen. So it really depends on the. I mean, I can't speak for them. I just know them much better than probably the other ones. But it depends on the app. But if the person asking has more, let's say, details, please feel to shoot an email. So. Awesome.
Are there IP considerations when using AI for creative text, images? Do there need to be?
Is this for me or for?
It's just for anybody.
I mean, I think there's always going to be some concern when you feed information into a centralized AI system. Are you also training that system? And if you are, there's going to be some risk there. This subject could be talked about, and I've been to conferences where it's talked about for a whole day. But the reality is in the design community, intellectual property, privacy are things that cannot be compromised. And so you do need to be careful what you are training other people's models that other people will use. Just as a word of caution, some aspects of the cloud-based tools are somewhat of a black box. You don't necessarily have full insight as to where that data is going. For a lot of professional organizations, that means taking more control of that, building and deploying AI solutions either on-prem data centers or run locally in workstations. But there is a real tangible concern about that. It is a lot of fun, though. I will tell you that it's fun to go generate images. It's fun to feed information and get really crazy insights out of it. But from a professional standpoint, you have to be a little more cautious than that.
Awesome. I'm going to try to squeeze in one last one, unless any of you have to go. This one's for Stepan. It says, question for Stepan. Great presentation. This is my third or fourth time seeing it. I'm still learning new things from it, which is awesome to hear. Do you still think ChatGPT is the best LLM for general purpose? And what do you think about the clause with the no artifacts that got an update some time ago? Love to hear from you.
Yes, I think that, listen, I mean, yes and no. It really depends on your use case. I think that Pietro and Ken are going to agree with me here. I think that ChatGPT is one of the most maybe connectable, so to speak. Like, it's easy to connect with other apps. It's easy to use. It's kind of the default one. But it really depends on the use case. It really depends on your content, like how much text you're putting in, what you're putting in. It is my go-to tool because I think it's so easy to use. It's like, they have an app for Mac as well and so on. But if it's the best one, it really depends on your use case and what you want to get out of it. So the thoughts on the artifact there, artifacts, for those who don't know, are kind of like small apps you can develop in Claude just by asking a question in natural language. And it's pretty cool what you can do with it. It's I also tried using like this lovable.dev and, Replit for the kind of this natural language. I'm not a developer, but, you can create apps, but this can be, again, another webinar. So yeah, but I think it's the best one. Because I think what my general opinion on this, let's say LLM and ChatGPT, is not so much about which one you use. It really doesn't matter. It's how you use it. Because I think that AI is a new medium, and it's going to take time for us to learn how to fully utilize this technology. So this is my opinion on that.
Awesome. Thanks for sneaking that last one in. I will wrap it up here, though. I know people need to jump off. There's about 25 questions here just asking if you will get a copy of this webinar replay. So the answer is yes. I will be sending that to you guys in a full email with the links to everybody here, the links to all their companies. So you can definitely check out and learn more from them. Like Stepan was talking about, he does have a new course coming out on this topic. If you want to learn a ton more with Global eTraining, it's called what this webinar is called, so Discovering AI and AEC. So there'll be more info about that in the follow-up as well. Like I said, if we didn't get to your question, we will follow up with you via email personally as well, so no worries about that. And thank you so much for joining us. First of all, to our speakers, Pietro, Ken, Stepan, it was amazing having you guys. I learned a ton based off of all these questions and all this great feedback. I think everybody else did too. Thank you again. And everyone have a great day.
Yeah, thank you guys. It's been a privilege. It's been a privilege. Thank you.